This is a continuation part of the Rape of the Lock, a continuation of Canto 1. In this audio clip, I'll be dealing with the Canto 2. So the opening lines of Canto 2 are like the closing passage of Canto 1. That is a complete tribute to Belinda's beauty and charm. And the lines in which the Baron is described as offering his prayers to various deities, though chiefly to the god of love, are very amusing. And similar as I did in the first canto, in this canto also I'll be dealing with all the important lines and will be sharing with all the important quotations with you too. Right? So in this canto we see that Belinda sails along the river Thames. Belinda, she sails along the river Thames, and everyone is dazzled by her beauty, and she is wearing a bejeweled cross which is so sparkling that even Jews and infidels would want to kiss it. And it is the description of a smile is also given of Belinda in this canto 2, where the writer writes that I quote from the poem Canto 2, line number 159 and 160. Quote, favors to none, to all she smiles extends. Oft she rejects, but never once offends. Unquote. I repeat, favors to none, to all she smiles extends. Oft she rejects, but never once offends. Unquote. Through this line, the writer is saying that she smiles at everyone and her eyes are luminous, bright as the sun. But she gave her smiles to everybody, but showed no special inclination towards anyone. Even when she rejected the advance of a man, she did so in a most inoffensive manner. She is so beautiful that any female error she might make would be instantly forgotten with anyone looked on her face. And if I analyze it critically, it is like the most epic poems include a sea voyage. So Belinda is traveling by boat, emphasizes her role as a parody of an epic hero. And her bejeweled cross, which is so beautiful that even Jews and all the infidels would be attracted by it, as it suggests Belinda's lack of religious conviction. The cross is a beautiful ornament rather than a symbol of her faith. A point Pope underscores by noting its appeal to non Christians. But Alexander Pope does suggest that perhaps her vanity is not all bad. The phrase female error suggests that as a woman, Belinda's behavior is criticized more harshly than a man's. So, if her beauty means that these errors are instantly forgotten when gazing on her face, it seems only fair and wise that she cultivate her beauty to escape unfair moral scrutiny. And if I read further from the Canto 2 itself, it is somewhere like Belinda's hair has been described as a description of mankind. Belinda's hair, to the destruction of mankind, is styled into two beautiful curls. And these locks of hair are so attractive that any man who looks on them is overcome with desire for her. The curls are labyrinths in which love detains his slaves and binding man's heart in slender chains. And the Baron is one such man, and he resolves to take one lock either through trickery or by force. Right? Here, through these lines, Pope once again appears to suggest that there might be something liberating about Belinda's vanity. Her hair has the power to make slaves of the man who would treat her as an inferior person for being a woman. So depicting her curls as prison for suitors who are dazzled by love suggests that her beauty evens the playing field a bit at the patriarchal court. So we can see a study of this text like in so many ways. We can see it through so many glances as we want to analyze it, right? So if I goes further, we see that earlier that day, before the sun rose, the Baron prayed to love for success in gaining his prize by building a pyre out of various objects associated with love. That includes or including volumes of French romances that are garters, gloves, and love letters. And the pyre is a reference to both pagan religious tradition. I hope you know what is pagan religion. I so wish you must be knowing this term. What is the pagan religion? And the pyre is a reference to both pagan religious tradition and the epic tradition as well. Pyres were normally built for funerary purposes, but here the Baron is using his pyre to burn trivial items like garters and gloves and so many other things related to Belinda, and in order to pray the god of love. In this way, Pop continues his parody of court life, and this moment also recalls the female vanity of Belinda's own pagan altar, right? That fashioned from her dressing table. And in Pope's time, men were expected to be morally and intellectually superior to women. But the parallel between the Baron's frivolous pyre and Belinda's dressing table altar paints the two as being morally equivalent in their frivolities, right? It is nothing like that only one person can be, blamed for anything. Further in this canto, we see that back on the boat of on which Belinda is sailing, everything seems to be going perfectly and everyone is happy, except for Ariel. Why? Because Ariel is still troubled by the idea that something terrible is going to happen. The Ariel knows already that something is there that is going to happen, but having no idea that what actually is going to happen. And Ariel summons an army of sylphs which descends down onto the boat. And the army is made up of sylphs in an array of different forms and dresses. Ariel addresses them, calling out, I quote from the text, Ye sylphs and sylphids, to your chief give ear, fays, fairies, genii, elves, and demons here. Unquote. He then continues by enumerating all the different roles spirits can have, and some guide the planets, other create the weather, and he reminds them of the sylph's role in guarding the beautiful, right? And through these lines here, Pope complicates the sylph's influence even further. He has previously created echoes between Ariel and Saturn in Paradise Lost to imply that the sylph may be more devilish than they appear. And here Pope echoes Milton again, but this time mimicking the voice of God Himself, who calls out to the angels that hear all ye angels, progeny of light, thrones, dominations, primes, terms, virtues, powers, hear my decree. And the effect is to suggest that Ariel's motivation is somewhere between angelic and devilish, but Pope keeps this mysterious. Okay. And again, Ariel explains to the assembled group that Ariel just can't shake the feeling that something terrible is going to happen. And Ariel doesn't know what it is, but he's worried that it could be anything from Belinda losing her virginity to staining her new dress to losing her heart or a necklace at a ball. And here, what Ariel is doing, Ariel lists ostensibly important things, that whether it can be the loss of Belinda's virginity or the loss of Belinda's heart, alongside trivial ones that a stain on a dress or the loss of a necklace, whatever she is wearing, which once again emphasizes the absurd fixation on appearances in the world of the court. And this also calls into question again how much Ariel really cares for Belinda's virtue. And to protect Belinda, Ariel assigns various cells different tasks. This, I have already given you in a previous audio clip that which task has been assigned to which self. But here I'm repeating again for so that you can remember and relate it with the previous audio clips. Zephyretta will look after her fan. Brillante will look after her earrings. Momentilla will look after her watch. Crispissa will look after her lock, and Ariel himself will look after her shock. The sylphs' names match their tasks a little too perfectly, and Zephyrita's name recalls the word Zephyr, Zephyr, which means a breeze, which matches the task of guarding Belinda's fan, a fan that is Belinda is carrying in her hand. And to spell out Zephyrita, if you don't know the spelling or if you are wondering what I'm pronouncing, the word is Zephyr Zephyrita, which means a breeze, and the task of Zephyrita is to guard the fan of Belinda. And Momentilla, Momentilla, Momentilla's name closely resembles the word moment, which is resonant with the guarding the watch. And Crispissa, Crispissa's name recalls the word crisp in its traditional sense, if I say, and uh, and this matching of names emphasizes the utter silliness of the whole process of guarding Belinda, and their names making it seem as if they were all created specifically for these trivial tasks. All the supernatural machinery has been have been created specifically for these absurd tasks to assign them, right? And if you are wondering that where these name has been given in the poem, let me tell you that the description of all these supernatural machinery and their tasks has been given in the poem of Rape of the Lock, Canto 2, and the line number 262 265. You can see the whole description and their task in the Canto 2 of Rape of the Lock, line number 262 265. If I read from the text only, it is like, quote, Hast then ye spirits to your charge repair, the fluttering fan be Zephyrita's care, the drops to thee, Brillante, we consign, and Momentilla, let the watch be thine. Do thou, Crispissa, tend her favorite lock. Ariel himself shall be the guard of shock. Unquote. So these are the actual description of these supernatural machinery or the sylphs and the gnomes prescribed in this poem. And here I would like you to give a consideration on this line that do thou Crispissa tend her favorite lock. It can be an important question if someone is going to play tricky with you, that which self or which supernatural machinery is there who has been assigned to guard the favorite lock of Belinda, right? So you better be careful when you are hearing all these audio clips. And other than these, more than 50 sets will look after Belinda's petticoat, which is described as the sevenfold fence, that is stiff with hoops and armed with ribs of veil, and the silver bound with a wide circumference. And Ariel completes his speech by explaining that should anyone fail to look after their charge, they shall be severely punished. And quickly all of them fall in line and await the dreaded event Ariel has predicted. We see that the description of Belinda's petticoat here mirrors Pope's own description of Aja's sevenfold shield and Achilles' broad shield. You all know that the mythology of Achilles. Achilles is a mythological creature, and the shield of Achilles is very strong. And here Pope, satirically or wittily, in a very witty manner, he uses these terms that sevenfold shield and Achilles' broad shield surrounded by living silver. These are some very witty things to use. He's just, want you to read it carefully and to give it a comparative read. And this further Pope's characterization of Valinda as a parody of an epic hero, but it also emphasizes once again the significance of chastity in her world. While the shields of heroes exist to protect their lives, Belinda's petticoat serves to restrict access to her sexually. And so the comparison of the petticoat to a shield suggests that for Belinda, the loss of her virginity would be essentially fatal, right? So this is all about the canto 2, and I have shared the important lines with you, and from canto 2 I have already explained the whole canto with you. In next audio clip I'll be dealing with the canto 3 and the further cantos of this poem, The Rape of the Lock. Thank you for listening carefully.